Hello and welcome to Ex-Witness Awake. I am your host, Jonathan. I'm a little bit late on getting this one out. I had hoped to have this out by Friday, but life being such as it is, well, what can you do? So, I have decided to add in chapters going forward to the videos that I do, so that if you're not in the right headspace to listen to a particular governing body member blather on about something or another, you can just skip to a different part. And there you go. You don't have to watch the stuff that you're not particularly interested in. What else? Well, I guess I should tell you what this one's about. So, the first part, what's his face? David Splane talks about building projects and things that were going on at the various locations throughout the world. Then they go to talk about the new attraction that's going to be coming up at Paterson. So I guess they're going to have their own Wally World. Actually, I went to Paterson for a visit, not to serve there, for a visit back in '97. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well, my experience with that, and my thoughts on the whole thing. And then it's finished up with Mark Sanderson, who talks about the next generation. So with that, I'll remind you to please like, share, and subscribe if you're able to. It really helps me out. If you like what I do, that's a good way to support me, is to help the channel to grow. So let's go on and start the old show. So gotta get my intro popper going. Here we go. That was a bad one. That'll do.
Wasn't that delightful? Thank you very much, Sam. That was just wonderful.
I can honestly say that delightful and wonderful are not the words that come to mind when I watch a talk by Sam Hurd. But let's carry on.
Now we're going to watch two videos. The first one is going to bring us up to date with the construction projects that were finished just before the COVID began. But then it's also going to tell us the work that was done during the COVID outbreak. Our brothers did not stop working during the outbreak, and they were very resourceful. They did a lot of good things. So let's watch this video. It's going to be very encouraging.
At Isaiah 40, verses 4 and 5, Jehovah says he would remove seemingly insurmountable obstacles so the Jews could return to Jerusalem.
Okay, so I bet you're going to tell us what seemingly insurmountable obstacles that Jehovah's Witnesses had to face during these last couple of years, because that's the same.
The account says, "Let every valley be raised up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The rough ground must become level, and the rugged ground a valley plain. The glory of Jehovah will be revealed, and all flesh will see it together, for the mouth of Jehovah has spoken." This inspiring prophecy was initially fulfilled in 537 BCE. There is nothing that can stand in the way of what Jehovah wants accomplished. In this report, we will see clear evidence of Jehovah's support on theocratic projects today, despite a pandemic, supply chain shortages, and other challenges.
So I wonder if the other issues were the insurmountable ones, because a pandemic, yeah, it's bad, but it's not that hard to work around. And supply chain issues, well, that's going to happen. Something that everybody dealt with. But I bet they didn't have the hand of God helping them to make this the way smoother for them. So let's just see what he has to say.
For example,
the February 2020 announcement featured in the JW Newsroom informed us that the Cameroon branch relocation project finished shortly before the outbreak of COVID-19. Just in time, the Bethel family had a home where they could safely shelter in place during the pandemic and still care for the kingdom work and more than 48,000 publishers in that branch territory. The Argentina Bethel family also moved into their new branch facility in Buenos Aires shortly thereafter. The move, which was organized in compliance with COVID-19 safety protocols, began in July 2020.
21. The Bethel family saw numerous examples of Jehovah leveling out overwhelming challenges during the pandemic.
Okay, for our first example, we have the Cameroon branch and the Argentina branch. They both were moving to different areas, different buildings, and they had challenges because there's a pandemic and that makes it hard to do stuff. But they were able to do stuff, and they moved the things, and they accomplished God's will, and what a blessing. That's the big help. Jehovah made it easy for you to move some stuff. Okay. Hopefully the next time, if I ever have to move our house, I hope that we have God's blessing of the U-Haul will be there on time.
Initially, the construction project committee wanted to use our brothers and sisters as volunteers. However,
At a certain point, it was decided to rely on an outside development company, both
for the design and renovation of the office building that was purchased, as well as for the design and construction of the residential buildings. When this decision was made, we did not imagine that a few months afterwards we would not be able to use our volunteers. Because at the beginning of 2020, COVID-19 struck northern Italy, including the city of Bologna. As a consequence, the government suspended activities, including construction. After about 1 month, they lifted the restrictions. And as a result, we could get back in touch with the companies and continue the work, while respecting government protocol and direction from our organization.
thanks to Jehovah's direction, despite the pandemic, we are happy to see how this project is moving forward much faster than we expected. And we look forward to being able to move into these new buildings by the end of 2024.
Okay, for our next example, we have the Italy branch, which is located in the appropriately named Bologna. Yeah, because it's Bologna. Anyway, so what was their big challenges they had to get through? Well, they had to, they hired some people to do some work because, I don't know, either the free volunteers were not skilled enough or it was a money savings, one of those two. And the pandemic happened and they had to stop. And then the restrictions were lifted and they were able to continue. Yay! The restrictions were lifted for everybody, fool. That's not special attention from God. If somehow you got like special permission to do stuff from the government while everybody else was on lockdown, that's different. But hey, people had to wear masks and not do anything for a month, and then everybody could. That doesn't make you special. So, next.
In 2012, we had a little over 168,000 publishers in our branch territory. By the end of 2021, the total number of publishers grew to more than 209,000 publishers. Because it was impractical to expand the branch facility in Kinshasa, we looked for property that could care for the immediate and future needs of the branch. We purchased property in the country's second largest city, Lubumbashi, where a developer was already building housing and office units. The developer already had the zoning, permits, and completed design packages. This saved much time and allowed the projects to move ahead with minimal disruption, even during the pandemic, and we were happy for that. For the internal work of the new offices, we needed a contractor who could design and install to the standards of our organization and within the project budget. We knew this would be hard to find in Congo, and even harder with the limitations of the pandemic. One of the suppliers that we use for food and relief supplies in the area mentioned to us that they have a partner company who specializes in construction and is newly active in the country. We didn't expect that the answer to this challenge would come from this unusual direction, but we were surprised to find that they did in fact qualify to meet the high standards and expectations of such a branch project. As the relationship grew, we saw fine collaboration between our teams, and they continue to work along with us now as the project expands.
We truly have seen Jehovah smoothing out the path for this project.
Okay, so this is getting kind of ridiculous. So this is about the obstacles that you faced. And this obstacle was that you needed to expand. So you happened to see a developer who was making stuff that you needed and was that much farther along in the project, and it would save you time. Oh, okay. And then you needed somebody who was specialized to do the internal work. Okay, and for a third example, we have the Kinshasa branch, which they had a lot of people, so they needed new facilities, and they didn't know what to do. So, oh, look at this. Somebody's selling some buildings and properties that's made out the way that we need it to, and it's mostly done, so, woo, we're going to save some time and money, but we need this other thing done. What are we going to do? And the guy they bought it from is like, hey, I know a guy, my other company. Woo, what a blessing. A word of mouth recommendation for something you need. Come on. Try harder. Next.
We have already started moving some Bethelites to this new site and look forward to the project's completion in mid-2024.
In December 2021, a building was purchased that will provide additional rooms and offices for the Bethel family at our branch. This building is located about a 10-minute walk from the current Bethel facility. Because of the restrictions imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the entire process for the acquisition of this building, even including the verification of the legal aspects, had to be done by video conference. During the last week of the negotiation process, when there were just 5 days remaining to sign the purchase and sale agreement, and during a stage in which the negotiation team from the branch and the seller had already agreed on the purchase and sale price, we discovered that the structure of the building needed some repairs and reinforcements in some areas. How did the team negotiating the purchase handle this obstacle? The seller was asked to take responsibility for the repairs and to reinforce the building structure, closely following the engineering details that would be provided by the branch. After several prayers by the branch's negotiation team, the seller accepted the responsibility and even paid for all the expenses involved in this repair. The repair was completed, and shortly after, the work to completely renovate the building began. We look forward to seeing some of the Bethel family move into this new building in early 2024.
In addition to these new branch facilities, we also have many other needs to fill. For example, in order to train brothers and sisters to carry out the preaching and teaching work, there continues to be a need for theocratic school facilities. In Madagascar, the branch hosted classes at Bethel because they didn't have any other suitable facilities. Well, in June 2021, they finished construction of a new school facility and will now be able to schedule up to 4 classes there each year. Currently, there are over 40 existing school facilities, and we have around 20 active school facility projects at various stages of development. What about facilities to support the growing media production of the organization? We're happy to report that we have finished the studio projects at the South Africa and Australasia branches. In Australasia, that includes the backlot that is used for the Good News According to Jesus video series.
Soon, if Jehovah wills, we will begin construction on the new site in Ramapo, New York. We look forward to seeing how Jehovah uses this facility.
Oh, I think you mispronounced governing body when you said, can't wait to see what Jehovah uses this project for. Yeah, it just feels like the two are interchangeable at this point in their history. Earlier on, it was more about Jesus, more about Jehovah, and then it become more and more about the governing body and the things that they accomplish. You think about it, a lot of times somebody in the organization does something, they don't get credit for it because they're not supposed to put light on their accomplishments. They're supposed to just do it because. That's why the translation committee for the New World Translation is just the translation committee and not brother so-and-so, because they don't want you to, think that you're extra special that way. But everything is, governing body member and governing body helper and branch committee member and so on and so forth. It all is now going towards the organization and the higher ups at that organization level.
to care for the needs of his people. It is clear that neither the pandemic nor ongoing turmoil in this world has been able to stop theocratic building projects. And as world conditions continue to deteriorate, we are confident that the words of Isaiah 44:5 will be true for us. Yes, Jehovah will help us overcome any mountain-like obstacles that we face. We earnestly pray for Jehovah to bless these and future building projects. And we thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for supporting them by means of your prayers, skills, time, and resources.
And there it is. We need your free labor and we need your money.
May all praise and glory go to our great God Jehovah, who continues to clear the way for us.
And if you happen to be serving in Bethel, they're actually getting your physical free labor at the Bethel facilities. Plus, you're living there for super cheap. You're not making much money, just enough to barely eke by. And if you want to be in a better position and make some money, well, then you're going to end up having to leave. I just think it's kind of funny how these different projects are sort of attributed to God's intervention and his support of organizational advancements and so on. And so if God is blessing what's going on there, there's an awful lot of terrible things going on in the world that we could use God to step in on. So I don't think that the governing body should feel that they're all that special. God wouldn't be watching babies being murdered and then help you by making your move to another facility a little bit easier. That just doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it?
Jehovah's hand is never short.
Jehovah's hand. Jehovah's hand. You'll let us hire you? Jehovah's hand. There's a delay. Oh no. The delay is over with? You can get back to work now? Jehovah's hand.
But I appreciate the gesture.
Am I crazy? Or is your hand really small?
About the size of a KFC spork.
Well, the next part is a video entitled Paterson Visitor Center Update. Try saying that fast 3 times. That was a mouthful. Paterson Visitor Center Update.
Paterson Visitor Center Update. Paterson Visitor Center Update. Paterson Visitor Center Update. Ha.
But this is about more than just a visitor center where people can come to wait their turn to tour Bethel. You're going to see that there are some surprises waiting for us in this visitor center. Let's watch.
Planning for the new Paterson Visitors Centre began in 2018. A project development group was formed with the goal of starting construction, but unforeseen challenges were about to occur. In March of 2020, an outbreak of COVID-19 in the New York area caused Bethel to go into a full lockdown. How did the design group see Jehovah's blessing on the project during this unprecedented time?
Well, when Bethel locked down and suspended in-person meetings, so did the town of Paterson.
Stop making it sound like this is miraculous. Everywhere locked down, pretty much. Maybe they didn't notice that people had a hard time going to the grocery store and doing stuff.
This created a serious challenge for us to obtain the necessary approvals and to keep the project moving forward. So with the threat of falling months behind, we had to rely on Jehovah and alter our approach. So a local elder was given permission to attend the town planning board meetings in person once they opened up. He allowed us as a design team to make a presentation effectively but remotely. We saw Jehovah's hand and his blessing on this entire arrangement. So through months of meetings, we were able to get the approvals needed and then get a building permit to begin construction, all of this taking place during the lockdown.
Okay, so the miraculous thing that happened in this example is they had to use Zoom, and they were able to get their permits and stuff, and yay, they accomplished the will. And that's just stupid, because the whole organization went on Zoom, and that's how they conducted their meetings. And, you know, if you wanted to go see a doctor, a lot of times you had to call in first or do a Zoom that way. There's all kinds of situations to where people had to use other means other than in person to communicate and get things done. So that is not anything special, having to, you know, do a committee meeting on, you know, a conferencing program. Come on. It's just getting dumb, the things that they attribute to the hand of God.
Following all the local guidelines, the branch found a way to bring skilled brothers and sisters into the Bethel bubble safely so they could work on the project. Jehovah caused many volunteers to offer themselves willingly to help.
Here we are, building the Paterson Visitor Center during a most unique time in history, in the midst of a global pandemic. The Brotherhood has demonstrated a heart for the work.
Through contributions, brothers and sisters offering their skills, some of which are quite unique. It's so encouraging to see how Jehovah has come to our aid with supply issues, and how Bethel departments have cooperated and provided skilled people to help us. It's been so encouraging.
All involved have seen Jehovah's hand guiding the way through these challenging circumstances.
But some may wonder, at a time when guests are not allowed on Bethel property, why is this visitor center so important to Jehovah?
I'm sorry, who did you say that this fake Israelite village is important to? Jehovah, was it? Do you think maybe it was important to the governing body and that's why they wanted this? I think so.
The physical buildings at Bethel are attractive, but what's more valuable to Jehovah is what happens inside.
He said that the buildings are pretty on the outside. So you heard it here. You might be pretty on the outside, but you might be ugly on the inside. Just saying.
It's the spiritual gift that he has in store for all who come to visit that is so important. The Paterson Visitors Center is designed to be an immersive theocratic experience for everyone.
The Paterson Visitor Center will feature 3 museums and a coin display. Our feature museum will be a first-century Bible village. The objective is to educate visitors about what life was like in the first century, and thereby bring Bible accounts to life. You will get a sense of what things were like when Jesus walked the earth. Since the Israelites lived off the land, the experience begins with an overview of the annual crop cycles that form the core of so much of their daily activities. Key agricultural tasks such as threshing, winnowing, and grinding grain will be illustrated with interactive displays. We know you will find the exhibit components like the functioning olive press and wine press very interesting and informative. The next stop will be a typical first-century market. Here you will see some of the food and goods that would have been available depending on the season of the year.
We next invite you into the residence and workshop spaces of a typical first century Israelite family. The manger, carpentry shop, weaving, and fabric dyeing displays will illustrate a number of Israelite activities. The residence courtyard area will show other regular home tasks like grain grinding and basket making. We next invite you into a typical Israelite home and out onto a rooftop overlooking the rest of the village. Before you leave the residences, you will also see an upper room that would have been in some of the Israelite homes. The next area of the first century Bible village that you can explore is the synagogue, which was the center of worship and study in the Jewish community. Next, a functioning pottery wheel and kiln will illustrate how pottery was made. The last stop will take you to a lakeside where you will be able to board a first century fishing boat similar to the one that Jesus and his disciples used. Here you can learn what was involved in commercial fishing. This and so much more is waiting for you at the new Paterson Visitor Center. We can't wait for you to come and see the beautiful spiritual gift that is waiting for you.
The new Visitor Centre and Museum are on course to be completed in the fall of 2023. When will guests be able to come back to Bethel and tour the new facility? We are going to have to wait and see. But one thing is for sure, when the doors finally do open, anyone who makes the effort to come will receive a spiritual gift from Jehovah.
The touring experience will prove to be a spiritual encouragement to the worldwide brotherhood and promote pure worship to Jehovah's praise and honor in a very unique way. It will certainly be a must-see.
Well, we've seen the blessings on this project and really all the people working hard on it. The facility is going to benefit thousands of future visitors. It's because all of us, either now or in the new world, need to be taught about the life and ministry of Jesus. For this reason, we're convinced of Jehovah's blessing on the project and his desire to have this facility built.
It's Jehovah's desire that people come to his house and be refreshed and educated. It is our prayer that this new and thrilling visitors center will accomplish that. Guests will come, they will be upbuilt, and they will draw closer to Jehovah God.
Okay, so the Paterson Visitor Center is going to be basically a tourist attraction for Jehovah's Witnesses and anybody else that wants to go. I guarantee it's going to be a contribution or a donation to get in there. And what's it really teach you? Well, I guess in preparation for the new world when they might not have electricity and you have to go back to making milk and olive oil on your own, how to live like a first century person. I don't see the real value in it.
I'm not saying that it's valueless because, say, you're really big into ancient history and would like to see what a first century, Israelite village was like for historical reasons, sure. But as far as motivating you to be a Jehovah's Witness and bring the Bible to life for you, that I don't see. It just feels to me like it's one more thing to see to give people a reason to go. Because most Jehovah's Witnesses over the years have gone to at least one of the Bethels. And what's there to see? There's not even, I assume there's not even as many printing presses anymore since a lot of it has gone to electronic. So they had to come up with something interesting to use that property for, I guess. I don't know. I did mention that I went to Paterson in 97. I think it was 97. So some people I knew told me about a bus tour of Bethel. So it was nice because it went through Niagara Falls, and it went through where was it? Washington, D.C. So there was other things to see. So I got to see Niagara Falls. I got to see the Smithsonian. I went to there, saw a lot of that. That was really cool. And then of course the spiritual parts of it, the different facilities. So what I remember of that tour was it was expensive, first off. I don't remember exactly. It's been a very long time. 97, so it's been a long time. But it was a lot of money. And you had to stay in a particular motel. Now, I guarantee that those hotels had some sort of an arrangement with the tour companies, which I think, unless I'm remembering this incorrectly, someone said that there's a bit of a kickback for the hotels and motels in the area of these things. They make a little money. The organization makes some money on that. So you going to visit them is a money generator. So you go there and you get off the bus, and then they pair you up with a tour guide or two, depending on how big your group is. But if I remember correctly, they show you part of the facility, and then partway through, for whatever reason, they stick you back in the lobby area for some undisclosed reason, because they had to go do something. And you're just sitting there talking amongst your group that you're with and looking at all these contribution boxes. And you end up sitting there for 20 minutes, half an hour. So where does that make you think? They've showed you some of God's house. Now you need to put some money into the bucket to show your appreciation for all the stuff that's been provided. So they don't need to do tours of these facilities, but they know they're going to make a little money on the outside sources, the hotels and stuff. And they're going to make some money you being there and putting your $20 or whatever into the contribution box to show your appreciation for all that you've seen. So with that said, if I was still an active witness, would I be like, oh, well, I haven't been to Bethel in a while. I should go back. That was such a great time. No, I don't need to. But I might be, ooh, Israelite Village. I should go see that. That's new. And after that gets old, maybe they'll update things and they'll have VR goggles, and you can do virtual goat milking and virtual escape from the bears that the prophet sicked on you or something, Yeah, so it serves the purpose of making people excited about the truth, but also it's cash. They make cash on it. So that is my experience with Paterson and the different Bethels. And yeah, I don't think I'll go.
Now let's listen to our brother Mark Sanderson as he speaks to us on the subject, Share It with the Generation to Come. Brother Sanderson.
At Matthew 13, verse 52, Jesus said that every public instructor was like a man with a treasure store filled with truths old and new. Well, we know that's true. And if it's true, it means that this audience are among the most rich people in the entire world.
Well, this is the corporate meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses, so who knows?
You have a large treasure store of truths, both old and new. But here's the question. What will you do with your treasure store? Now, in Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 29, Moses gave these words. He said, "The things concealed belong to Jehovah our God, but the things revealed belong to us and to our descendants forever, so that we may carry out all the words of this law." Well, there's a fundamental truth there. You see, the truth never solely belongs to us, but rather it also belongs to our descendants, to all of our sons and daughters who are to come. Well, that means that as men and women of faith, we have a clear responsibility to share, to pass on the wonderful truths that we have come to know with the next generation. Well, the Bible emphasizes this. Let's read what the psalmist said in Psalm 78 and verse 3. Psalm 78, verse 3. It says, "The things we have heard and know, which our fathers have related to us, we will not hide from their sons. We will relate to the generation to come the praiseworthy deeds of Jehovah and his strength, the wonderful things that he has done." Well, now, this includes more than just the basic truths. It also includes all of the wonderful things that we've been taught by other brothers and sisters, all the experiences that we've had in experiencing the hand of Jehovah in our own lives. Well, Jehovah took the matter of passing this on to the next generation very seriously.
Make it so.
Because look at what it says in verse 5. It says, "He established a reminder in Jacob and set a law in Israel. He commanded our forefathers to make these things known to their children, so that the next generation,
make it so,
the children yet to be born, might know them. They, in turn, would relate them to their children." Well, brothers and sisters, especially those of you who have so much wisdom and experience, do you feel that responsibility to share what you have with the generation to come?
make it so.
Well, if we get the sense of Deuteronomy 29:29 and Psalm 78, well, then we will do this. We will share what we have with the next generation. But how do we do it?
But shut up, Wesley.
Well, of course, this process begins with all of our parents. And by their following the command in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 6 and 7, to teach their children as they sit in the house, as they walk on the road, when they lie down and when they get up. But the process does not end with the Christian parents. We also have a responsibility to teach and train young adults so that they can take on responsibility in Jehovah's congregation. Now, the Bible is filled with examples of individuals who were wonderful trainers. Maybe one who comes to mind right away is Moses. It seems that in the Bible, whenever you see Moses, you see Joshua. They're always together. Can you imagine the wonderful training that Moses was able to impart to Joshua as they worked together for more than 40 years? Moses not only told Joshua, but he also showed him. And by being with him, he was able to observe his fine example. Well, when the time was ready, when Moses was ready to hand over the responsibility, notice what he says here in Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 7. It says, Moses then called Joshua and said to him before the eyes of all Israel, "Be courageous and strong, for you are the one who will bring this people into the land that Jehovah swore to their forefathers to give to them, and you will give it to them as an inheritance. Jehovah is the one marching before you, and he will continue with you. He will neither desert you nor abandon you. Do not be afraid or be terrified." Well, can you imagine how Moses must have felt to say those words to this young man who he had worked so hard all of these years with? Well, that's not the only example that's in the scriptures. What about Paul and Timothy? We know that Timothy was probably in his late teens or early 20s when Paul met him at Lystra. What did Paul do? He took that young man along with him on his tours, going from congregation to congregation. He put him in mind of his methods. He taught him. And as a result, Timothy came to be a solid, mature Christian man who was able to strengthen the congregations of God's people. Do you remember what Paul said about him in Philippians chapter 2? It's quite a recommendation. Philippians chapter 2 and verse 20. Paul said, "For I have no one else of a disposition like his who will genuinely care for your concerns." What a tremendous recommendation. But because Paul had invested that time into Timothy, he knew the fine qualities that young man had. Well, Paul not only wanted Timothy to take that training himself, but you'll recall that in 2 Timothy chapter 2, he gave advice to Timothy as to what he was to do with all of that fine training that he had received. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 2, Paul said, "And the things you heard from me that were supported by many witnesses, these things entrust to faithful men who in turn will be adequately qualified to teach others." So that training would go on to future brothers and future generations of servants of Jehovah.
Make it so.
Paul invested training in a very young man, and it paid off. In our modern day, I think of Brother Nathan Knorr as an outstanding trainer. When he became the president of the Watchtower Society in January of 1942, he was only 36 years old. Now, he could have thought, "I'm so young. I have many, many years ahead of me to be able to care for matters. And so there really isn't any need to train others." But Brother Knorr did not have that disposition. He was a trainer even at that young age. He assigned Brother Milton Henschel, who was in his mid-20s, to be his secretary. Brother Knorr took Brother Henschel with him on his travels all over the world to branches and missionary homes to strengthen the brothers. He had him right by his side at major conventions, not just telling him, but showing him how to take the lead. And Brother Henschel absorbed that training. By 1947, he was a member of the board of directors of the Watchtower Society, only 27 years old, and he went on to serve as a member of the governing body. Brother Knorr trained other young brothers like Don Adams. This photo that we're about to show was taken at a gathering on Brother Adams' 70th anniversary in full-time service. Now here you see a group of young men that Brother Knorr had trained: Robert Wallen, Charles Mollahan, David Sinclair, and Don Adams. All of these men were identified when they were very young, and they worked together for more than 50 years faithfully. Jehovah helped Brother Knorr to choose very well. But it didn't end there. Brother Knorr also appointed well-qualified young brothers who were Gilead graduates to assignments with great responsibility. For example, Brother Kenneth Little was assigned to be the branch servant in Canada when he was 34 years old. Brother Denton Hopkinson was assigned as the branch servant in the Philippines when he was 33 years old. And Brother Richard Kelsey was assigned as the branch servant in Germany when he was 38. When appointed, Brother Kelsey said to Brother Knorr, "But I'm only 38." And Brother Knorr said, "Well, yeah, that's about the age I was when I became president." Brother Knorr, once again, had chosen well. Those last three brothers are all still serving on the branch committees in their respective lands and are all members of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania who are tied in today for this meeting. Isn't that wonderful?
So here's something that I'm getting out of this so far. It's talking about a lot of responsible men in the organization who started out when they were young men in their 20s and 30s, and how they would have thought that the end is coming very soon because, that was still the thought that the end was coming, and it's going to be here very, very soon. So what do we have now? We have some of these men have passed away from old age. Some of them are quite elderly, still working, but it's a lot of time has passed, and so the urgency that they had back then, it just reminds you that it didn't come true, and it's continuing to not come true in our day. That the end is going to be here any minute. So I think that's an important lesson. When Mark was talking about how Brother Knorr was training Brother, what was it, Henschel? He could have thought, well, I've got plenty of time. I don't need to train anybody. I don't think that was really what he might have been thinking. What he could have thought is, well, the end's going to be here any minute. I don't need to train anybody because I'm probably going to be in place as the president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society when the end comes. But that didn't happen.
But there's a lesson here, brothers. There's a lesson. Brother Knorr expressed confidence in humble young brothers. He allowed them to take on responsibility, and that proved to be a wonderful blessing for Jehovah's people. Well, what's the lesson then for elders, for circuit overseers, for branch committee members, really for all mature brothers in the congregation? We must actively be training and teaching the next generation of ministerial servants, the next generation of elders, the next generation of circuit overseers.
You don't like me very much, do you?
Is it required, sir?
And we must take this responsibility seriously, because the truth belongs not just to us, it also belongs to our sons, to our descendants. We must pass on the truth, the wisdom, the experience that we have in our treasure store to these next Joshuas, these next Timothys that Jehovah will raise up. But now that's the role of the trainers. What is the role of you younger brothers who are listening to this program? Well, it's your responsibility to work hard to meet the scriptural qualifications for ministerial servants and later for elders. Seek out training. Ask for advice. Ask for counsel. Be eager to learn from older brothers who are rich in wisdom and experience. Now, to help you grow, those brothers may give you some counsel. They may even correct you from time to time. Will you love them for doing that? Like Jacob, who wrestled with an angel to receive a blessing, you too may have to wrestle. You may have to struggle at times to get that blessing, to reach that goal. But if you work hard and if you look to Jehovah for his help, you will grow spiritually. You will draw close to him, and who knows what responsibilities may come to you. What is the governing body doing to support efforts to train young brothers? Well, in January of this year, the governing body requested all bodies of elders worldwide to give priority to helping younger brothers grow in their relationship with Jehovah and to qualify for congregation responsibilities. Elders and circuit overseers were reminded that young brothers who apply themselves may qualify as ministerial servants in their late teens.
How do I look?
You look great.
And that an exceptional ministerial servant who has gained experience in shepherding and teaching could serve as an elder in his early 20s.
And you guys don't always have to toe the company line, you know. It's okay to think for yourself.
No, sir. No way. That's a terrible idea.
That's the attitude.
Oh, you're so right. You got it, sir. You're the man. Absolutely.
Now here's another arrangement that we have not publicly announced before, but we will today. Circuit overseers have also been informed that they may invite qualified young brothers between the ages of 21 and 23 to apply to attend the School for Kingdom Evangelizers. Please don't all call your circuit overseer at once. But the efforts do not end there. Jehovah willing, in January 2023, the School for Kingdom Evangelizers will again begin functioning in person worldwide. And as we resume in-person regional conventions, just imagine the joy that we'll have in seeing younger brothers get up and give their first talk at a regional convention. And won't that be wonderful? Are you looking forward to it? But the governing body has another new initiative. Governing body members will now have the possibility to take a younger brother along with them when they make shepherding visits to the branches. And appointed governing body helpers, who are headquarters representatives, will also be allowed to take a younger brother with them when they make their branch visits. These arrangements will allow many brothers to receive additional training directly from governing body members and helpers. Well, what have we discussed in this brief talk? Jehovah has allowed us to know the truth. He's allowed us to be trained. He's allowed us to gain wisdom and experience from other experienced brothers and sisters. What now is our responsibility? Well, let's read it in Psalm 71, because the psalmist put it so beautifully here. Psalm 71 and verse 17. O God, you have taught me from my youth, and until now I keep declaring your wonderful works. Even when I am old and gray, O God, do not abandon me. Let me tell the next generation about your power and about your mightiness to all those who are to come. Dear brothers, please, let us work hard to share the wonderful truths, the experience, the wisdom that we have gained with the generation to come.
Well, what is the big takeaway from this presentation from Mark Sanderson? He's talking about training up these new generations of brothers to take on roles. They're going to be younger and younger, apparently. And you look back to the brothers that were young, you know, half a century ago, and then got old and passed away, or are just really old now. And this whole concept of the generations is just kind of messed up. A generation, as we know, is supposed to be 20 to 30 years tops. It's basically, you know, when you would have kids and those kids would have kids and so on and so on. So him talking about all the various, talking about raising up the next generation of brothers, it just sort of goes against this concept that they've created of this generation overlapping with the previous generation being some, like, you know, 80 years long or something. It's ridiculous. So they've got a lot to learn when it comes to that sort of thing. And so really they've got a lot of explaining to do when it comes to this concept of a generation. So what is it? A generation, is it you know, the next bunch of teenagers and 20-somethings that are going to become ministerial servants and elders? Or is it this thing where it can be somebody who is now 92 but was alive at 2 years old when this particular generation was around? It doesn't really fit together. So that's what I got out of that talk. Anywho, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. It's been a bit of a journey to get these videos out so far. I think I might have one more to do. I have to check. I sort of recorded these in clips off of that link, which is no longer available, mind you, so I'm glad I did that. And see what's left. I believe there's a talk by Stephen Lett, but I'll find out, and so will you. Please like, share, and subscribe if you could, please. Please like, share, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. And I will catch you in the next couple of days as I have to do a little catch up myself in some stuff that I got going on. Plus, it is a holiday weekend, so there's family stuff and work stuff going on. And here we are. With that, I bid you adieu. And shut up, Wesley. Bye.
But shut up, Wesley.